हेलो दोस्तों, वेलकम टू एच टेक्निकल चैनल। वी आर ट्राइंग फॉर द रीडिंग बुक इफेक्टिव लाइफ मैनेजमेंट। सो लेट्स स्टार्ट रीड द बुक इफेक्टिव लाइफ मैनेजमेंट। इसमें फर्स्ट टॉपिक है हमारा इम्पोर्टेंस ऑफ इफेक्टिव लाइफ मैनेजमेंट। द टेक्नोलॉजिकल डेवलपमेंट्स ऑफ recent times have propelled the human race on a fast track of material progress. The dignified and leisurely pace of life is almost pace. People face tough competition to excel at every stage and in every sphere of worldly life. Our lives are marked by daily frustrating commutes to the workplace and back. Speedy means of travel and instant communication using the latest gadgets. Urbanization is rapid and consumption is rampant as market driven economies are using novel ways to attract consumers. A village screech through the glamorous world of films. Television, media, and sport prevails everywhere in homes, on roads, dulling or promises of instant gratification and overnight stardom. Those who are capable of enjoying the fruits of material progress and facing the challenges of modern life are considered fortunate by society, but it is really a challenging task for those who are running this difficult race today. People are under constant stress to achieve social status and material prosperity as followed human relationships, family bonds, and value systems are strained, demanding lifestyles translate into lesser physical exercise, irregular sleep patterns, and anxiety disorders, all resulting in various diseases. Stress and blood pressure eat into our time, and we end up spending less quality time with family, friends, and loved ones, resulting in broken relationships and superficial interactions. Pent up emotions and lack of creative and relaxing activities translate into erratic human behavior and lack of compassion towards one another. People find it difficult to make even basic sacrifices and adjustment in life. Problems are further sacrifices and adjustment in life problems are further compounded by the usual human traits of greed, anger, jealousy, hatred, lust, and so on. The purpose of stating all this is not to paint a bleak picture and conjure up an entirely grim scenario. Instead, the purpose is to help individuals identify their problems and remedy them by applying time-tested techniques that have been handed down over generations. To understand how important it is to manage our lives effectively, we need to look at life in a holistic manner, whether we are householders, monks, students, businessmen, servants, ministers, or even nobodies. We are all engaged in unceasing work and all through our lives from birth to death. But most of us never pause to think, even once, why we do all this work. Propelled by the insatiable material, emotional, and intellectual goals that modern social life demands, one naturally feels and argue to struggle for a better state of life than the present one. Each person tries in his own way to attain his cherished goals. Usually, one chooses his goal of life based on his psychological constitution and the environmental conditions in which he is placed. Changes in the goal may occur as one evolves physically, emotionally, and intellectually. Generally, man wants to achieve that which he thinks is within his reach. The question arises then, why does man aspire for a better state of life? It is because we all feel that upon attaining a higher state of life, we will be happier, more at peace, freer, more powerful, and less miserable. We are somehow discontent with our present state of existence and want to get rid of anything that tends to limit us. In the heart of hearts, every being craves for an allied happiness, uninterrupted peace. This is the inner quest of all humans, and we are all trying best to attain it in our own ways. Cautiously or unconsciously, this search for peace, contentment, and happiness is the underlying motive behind all our pursuit in life. From this is becomes obvious that we work incessantly only to attain contentment, happiness, or bliss. Some may admit that they work to obtain money or positions or power, but a little bit of introspection will tell that these are only means to the real end. Bliss animals too are struggling to attain bliss, but they are guided by instinct. They lack the intellect that we humans possess the faculty that enables us to make decisions and discriminate right from wrong. Unfortunately, most humans function purely on the basis of instinct and make little or no use of their intellect. The sages of India, since time immemorial, have applied their mind to find out the true nature of the individual. They have concluded that bliss is our real nature and that we are Amritsa Putra, children of immortality. Whether we know it or not, we are constantly struggling to regain our true nature. In the process, errors or wrong decisions born of ignorance may lead us astray, but sooner or later a time will come when we have to realize our true identity. However, looking at the world around us, it appears that people are not bothered about attaining the kind of peace that we have discussed above. It is true that differences in individualities are shaped by what are called as sanskars, and therefore each individual's approach the outlook will be different, and we cannot set a general standard for all to adhere to. The common observation is that in spite of our ceaseless efforts, the peace and contentment that we desire constantly eludes most of us. Even those who appear to be happy with the means to fulfill their desires are seen to suffer a lot since they want more and more of what they have been handed on a platter. Then there are those who appear to be confused and lost and keep on blaming this or that for their failures. Some are able to achieve their desired goals after hard struggles, but the desired happiness still proves to be a chimera and a delusion for them. If the end result bring unhappiness and frustration, all effort appear meaningless. However, this struggle is not completely worthless, as it is through this process that the individual gains experience and knowledge, thereby moving ahead towards his ultimate goal. It is like the shaping of an ornament from a piece of gold. The gold is to be heated and beat into craft it into a valuable piece of art. Each mark or bend in the final artifact will have much effort invested in it, and it is this effort that adds to the value and beauty of the ornament. Similarly, the various desires, actions, experiences, achievements, setbacks, and the knowledge that we gain as we life get uniquely reflected in our respective personalities, making us richer in wisdom and helping us develop emotional balance. The extent to which we train our mind by strengthening our willpower and intellect will determine our personality. Our personalities can be said to be the outcome of our mind and its various reactions to external stimuli. A person is said to have an integrated personality when there is perfect conformity between his knowledge and actions. Such a person not only possesses wisdom, he also has the ability to conduct all his actions in a manner that reflects this inner wisdom. How one feels, eats, behaves, these and much more shape an individual's personality. The mind is very choosy. Usually it dictates terms. It likes this, it does not like that. Using our intellect, We need to dictate it to follow the right course of action and avoid the wrong one. And we cannot direct our mind unless we control it. How then do we control our mind? Despite best efforts, our relationships to control the mind gets weakened by gross and subtle desires, and very often we get carried away by our drifting mind. We then feel weak and hopeless. How then should we stand and reform our character to be able to develop a strong personality? How can we improve our willpower and develop confidence in our abilities? What concrete steps will help us attain our chosen goal of everlasting happiness, bliss, and peace? Here lies the importance of learning the art of managing one's personal life. So, that is the फर्स्ट टॉपिक्स ऑफ द डे जो हमने अभी एनालाइज किया. तो इससे हमें पता चलता है कि लाइफ में अगर आप कुछ भी करते हो, बट सबसे ज़्यादा जो इम्पोर्टेंस है वो है आपकी पीस ऑफ माइंड. अगर आप खुश नहीं रह पाते हो, कुछ भी कर लो तो बेकार है सब. तो इसलिए ये लाइफ मैनेजमेंट, इफ़ेक्टिव लाइफ मैनेजमेंट जो बुक है ये बताती है सबसे फर्स्ट प्रायोरिटी आपको जो देना है, अपने माइंड को पीस रखना है. देन इसका जो सेकंड टॉपिक है आज का वो है वेदांता ए ब्रीफ इंट्रोडक्शन. जो वेद हैं उनका एक ब्रीफ इंट्रोडक्शन इसमें दिया है. ब्लेस्ड इंडीड आर वी इन इंडिया टू हैव इनहेरिटेड द accumulated knowledge in the form of spiritual truths which have been revealed from time to time in the hearts of men and women. Purified by the practice of self-control and meditation, such fortunate souls are called rishis or seers of truth. Rishihood cannot be confined to a particular faith, caste, period, country or sex. Quite a few of our rishis were women. They imparted their instructions in the crowded courts of kings as well as in retreats beyond the bustle of the city. The supersensuous experiences of these seers have been embodied in the Vedas. Twofold is the philosophy taught in the Vedas. One is the philosophy of pirvirti or action, or the other is the philosophy of nivirti or withdrawal from action. Example, meditation. Both are required to establish a stable word order. Outward going energy is pirvirti and inward going energy is nivriti. These energies are to be harmonized by the individual and the society to ensure true material prosperity as well as spiritual growth and fulfillment for all beings. The Upanishad give us such verified and verifiable truths about human beings and the universe. The Upanishads are also known as Vedanta or the concluding chapters of the Vedas. The word Vedanta literally means the end or goal of the Vedas. Their reasons, Vedanta as a philosophy is based on the Upanishad. आज का जो थर्ड टॉपिक है वो है प्रैक्टिकल वेदांता, स्वामी विवेकानंद डेफिनेशन. इसमें स्वामी विवेकानंद जी की जो डेफिनेशन है वेदांता की वो दी है. स्वामी विवेकानंद ड्यूरिंग हिज एक्सटेंसिव ट्रेवल्स केम टू द कंक्लूजन दैट इन ऑर्डर टू चेंज मैन्स condition for the better, religion must become a dynamic force in people's day-to-day lives. The sacred must meet the secular. The Vedanta of the forest must be carried to the doors of every person so that the teacher could be a better teacher, a student a better student, and a clerk a better clerk. Swami Vivekananda gave 4 lectures in London on practical Vedanta in 1896 and 1 lecture in India on Vedanta in its application to Indian life in Madras in 1897. In his first lecture on practical Vedanta, the complete works of Swami Vivekananda, Swamiji says, in various Upanishads we find that this Vedanta philosophy is not the outcome of meditation in the forest only, but that the very best parts of it were taught out and expressed by brains which were busy in the everyday affairs of life. Everything goes to show that this philosophy must be very practical, and later on, when we come to the Bhagavad Gita, curiously enough, the skin is laid on the battlefield where Krishna teaches this philosophy to Arjuna, and the doctrine which stands out immensely in every page of the Gita is intense activity, but in the midst of it, eternal calmness. This is the secret of work to attain, which is the goal of Vedanta. In activity, as we understand in the sense of passivity, certainly cannot be the goal, nor does inactivity become activity when it is combined with passion. Real activity, which is the goal of Vedanta, is combined with eternal calmness, the calmness which cannot be ruffled, the balance of mind which is never disrupted. Whatever happens, and we all know from our experience in life that this is the best attitude for work. Speaking about the need to throw open the Upanishad to all human beings and the need to make the Upanishad teachings practical, Swami Vivekananda says the Upanishad were in the hands of the sannyasi. He went into the forest. Shankara was a little kind and said, even householders may study the Upanishad. It will do them good. It will not hurt them. But still the idea is the Upanishad talk only of the forest life of the recluse. The only commentary, the authoritative commentary on the Vedas has been made once and for all by him who inspired the Vedas. By Krishna in the Gita, it is there for everyone in every occupation of life. Swami Vivekananda also upheld that the great truths realized by sages, ancient and modern, are not dogmas to the believed unquestioningly. They are meant to be realized and thereby verified. Truth is eternal and it already exists, but it is only when the mind is made absolutely pure and subtle that we achieve the concentration required to realize the subtlest of truths. Everything depends on one's mind. Nothing can be achieved without purity of the mind. It is said, the aspirant may have received the grace of the Guru, the Lord and the Vaishnava, but he comes to grief without the grace of the one. That one is the mind. The mind of the aspirant should be gracious to him. We need to know what is meant by purification of the mind and how to purity it. And more importantly, how do we manage our mind until it becomes absolutely pure and subtle. इसमें फोर्थ जो टॉपिक है वो है प्यूरिफिकेशन ऑफ द माइंड एंड इजी वे. The technique of managing our lives effectively, called HTM, contains S, which is an easy way to purify our mind every minute that we spend in satsang, which is the company of the holy people, holy books and so on, makes our mind that much stronger and purer. Even spending time in remembrance of the inspiring lives, and let us remind ourselves that we have said learn the art of effectively. Then each era has produced towering personalities like Ramakrishna, Buddha, Moses, Jesus, Muhammad, Nanak, Ramakrishna and many others who elaborated and changed the course of human development, so much so that each one of them is considered to be either a divine incarnation of or God's messenger by the faithful. Although they were normal human beings, they rose to the level of gods, and so we can also aspire to be like them. Every great life has lessons galore for the teeming masses. It reveals the meaning and goal of life and also shows us the right path. We look forward to be guided by their ideal conduct the teachings. A seemingly ordinary looking life was in fact a living example of the practical implementation of the precepts of Swami Vivekananda and is a source of inspiration to millions of people. दोस्तों, अगर आपने यहाँ तक वीडियो देखा है तो आपका बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद. ये हमने जो आज रीडिंग की इफ़ेक्टिव लाइफ मैनेजमेंट की, अगर आप इस बुक को ख़रीदना चाहते हैं तो डिस्क्रिप्शन में आपको लिंक मिलेगा, आप वहाँ पे क्लिक करके इस बुक को ख़रीद सकते हैं। अगर आपको ये वीडियो अच्छा लग रहा है, सॉरी, अगर आपको ये ऑडियो अच्छा लगा तो आप इसको लाइक कीजिए, अपने दोस्तों के साथ शेयर कीजिए और चैनल को सब्सक्राइब कीजिए। थैंक यू सो मच।